Welcome to the Brave Feminine Leadership podcast. I'm Melissa Hamilton. I'm a former global CEO, company director, and these days I spend my time thinking deeply about influence and leadership and what actually moves people. I've led organisations with more than 5,000 people globally. I've sat in the CEO chair, and now I get to slow it right down and look at the invisible patterns that make it harder than it should be, and to make sense of why some of the advice we've been given doesn't always work. Over the past few years, I've had conversations with over 250 leaders, leading CEOs globally, and executives from major organisations. And one thing became clear: the strategic imperative of people leadership has never been more critical. And that's why today I'm in conversation with chief people officers. The CHRO function has fundamentally shifted. It's no longer a support function, it's strategic. These leaders sit at the centre of leadership, culture, and long-term performance, with a unique view of how executives are shaped over time. So today, I'm curious about Amy Stanley's journey, about the moments that shaped how she leads and what she's navigating right now as she helps build an organisation fit for what's coming next. Amy, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, Melissa. It's great to be here.
So let me share your bio so people know a little bit more about you. So as HBF's Chief People Officer, Amy Stanley leads culture, leadership and organisational strategy across the People and Corporate Affairs division. She's committed to shaping modern, human-centred workplaces where people thrive. Amy's got deep experience in change leadership and emerging workforce practices, and is increasingly focused on the role of AI in enhancing employee experience, enabling connection, and supporting hybrid work. Amy, so good to have you here. Let's get right into your story. So, who are you as a human being? That curious question.
It is a very curious question. So, I am obviously a Chief People Officer at HBF, but probably more importantly, I am a mother to two boys, Owen and Fraser, who are 15 and 13. So they help keep me grounded and certainly keep me busy as well. I've been working in HR for over 25 years now. It's definitely a career I love and I'm very passionate about. And along the way, I've collected other disciplines, including corporate affairs and sustainability.
So, tell us about the actual journey. So, how did you end up where you are today?
Right. So I started at university and I wasn't too sure what I wanted to do. So like all good people who don't really know what to do, I did a Bachelor of Arts, majoring in political history, because I thought that's a good general degree. I was interested in it. So came out the other end of university and thought, well, I don't really want to go into politics, but what I do love is fashion. And at the time, Friends was a very big show on TV, and I wanted to be a buyer like Rachel Green. So I got into what was then a department store in Perth called Ahern's, their graduate trainee program. And so I thought that was where I was going to go. But I quickly learned out that to be a buyer, you need to love numbers. And myself and numbers don't really gel. So I didn't really love, I found out the hard way, I didn't really love that part of the job, and it was a key part of it. But what I did enjoy and what I was good at was being a sales supervisor out on the floor, motivating the teams and working with them. So I did that for a couple of years, and then my now husband decided he wanted to move to Vancouver. So we went there for a year and I worked at Banana Republic, again, starting on the shop floor, but worked my way up again into sales supervisor roles. So when I came home from Vancouver and was deciding, oh, now I need to go get a proper job, what can I do? My father actually said to me, well, what about you go and do your grad dip in HR? So I did at the University of Western Australia. It was a year-long course. Did that. Then through some family connections, I got a summer job at Bankwest in their HR as their graduate trainee. So I just did whatever anyone else needed to me to do. But I really enjoyed it. And I think that was my first glimpse of if you do something that you love, you are good at it. So
Yeah.
they offered me a permanent role there. And at the time, the Chief People Officer, Bruce McCowan, believed in developing young talent and gave me a number of different opportunities. And I always credit Bruce for giving me my first real opportunity when we moved to Sydney. He said, look, Amy, we're expanding on the East Coast. We need an HR business partner. Will you take that opportunity? And I did.
Because
And
you
I
were
worked in
going
various.
anyway, right? You
I
were
was going
going
anyway.
anyway.
I
Yeah.
was going to walk in there. Well, I did walk into his office and say, unfortunately, Bruce, I'm moving to Sydney. I know there's no HR team there, so I'm going to have to resign. He's like, well, why don't you go and be the HR business partner over there? So I did. And because I was the only one there, I got to do everything, all parts of HR. So it really was a sink or swim opportunity, which then just helped me take my career from there to varying serious seniority roles in Bankwest, onto Coca-Cola, which was a whole different opportunity, learning to work for a big US multinational, and then varying roles bringing me back home to Perth, to be closer to family and to raise the kids in Perth, and eventually to the role here at HBF.
Fantastic. Are there parts of your journey that make sense now that didn't at the time? Are there any moments that stick out for you?
Yeah, absolutely. A number along the way. So deciding to leave Bankwest was a big decision for me because it's where I'd got my start and there'd been people who had been very good for me. But it was at the time where Commonwealth Bank had bought Bankwest, so there was a lot of change happening. And I also thought if I stay in financial services, I'll probably be pigeonholed as a financial services HR person, and I don't want
Yeah.
that. And it just so happened that then someone from Coca-Cola called me with the opportunity. And I was like, go work for the number one brand in the world. Why wouldn't
Amazing.
you?
Yeah.
To be their country head for HR, what an opportunity to do. And yeah, that really, I learned a lot there. When I returned from my first maternity leave, I also decided I'm a really good HR generalist, but probably the part of HR that I really enjoy is talent and succession planning and that leadership development sort of space.
Mm.
So I put my hand up for an opportunity at Coke, more in that space. Did that for a couple of years, really enjoyed it, but then worked out actually, you know what, I like being an HR generalist. You're actually in the business, you
Yes.
partner with the MDs and the CEOs. That's what I like. So came back out into a generalist role. Then one of the other sort of turning points in my career was when I was at ATCO, which is a Canadian company, as their general manager for HR in Australia. The general manager of corporate affairs resigned. So I went to the MD and said to them, look, I reckon I can do that job. I can save you some money, one less executive. Will you give me a go? I know, understand people, comms
Mm.
people. How hard can it be? And to her credit, she said, yeah, give it a shot, see how you go. And so I picked up the corporate affairs portfolio and I've kept it as part of my portfolio as I've moved jobs now as well.
Brilliant. That's fantastic. What do you think if I just say to you generally, and I'm having these conversations for a reason, because I think there still is in some pockets, still a perception that HR is a support function. I don't think everyone necessarily sees the value or potential of it. What do you think's the most misunderstood thing about the role and why? Does something come to mind when I ask that?
I thought, and I do know that is absolutely true. And one of the key things, if I'm ever asked about different opportunities, my first question will be, does the role report direct to the CEO? Because if it doesn't, I'm not interested.
Mm.
I'm not I won't be right for your company, and it wouldn't be the right role for me. And I always find it curious as to why people don't have it report directly to them because it's such a critical role, I think, for CEOs for them to be successful in delivering on their strategy because we can have such an influence on making sure they've got the right culture, the right capability, talent, succession. All of that is critical to deliver on your overall business strategy. So I think maybe some of the reasons why is maybe they've had the wrong people in the roles
Yeah.
before. I do think sometimes with HR people, we don't understand the business enough, not commercial enough. Like I think there's still a bit of a shift that needs to happen in that space, and we need to demand a seat at the table I say to my business partners, push your way into those meetings. If they say you don't need to be here for our whole leadership meeting, you say, yes, I do.
Yes.
The chief people officer attends all the exec meetings. I'm going to be at yours. Like just, and then, yeah, and then deliver once you're in there.
Fantastic. There's so many themes I want to pick up from that. I'm going to start though by asking you, at what point did you realize the role could shape outcomes and not just support them?
I think that it was for that opportunity in Bankwest. So when I was moved over into Sydney into the retail bank, as I said, it was just as Bankwest was doing its big expansion onto the East Coast, and I credit as well the person who was the CEO of the retail bank, because he said to me, Amy, as part of the overall expansion strategy, I want you to write the part on people. We've got
Yeah.
to have a people strategy in there. We need to understand how we're going to recruit these people, how we're going to pay them. We want to do things differently to the way they've been done before. So they didn't want to have tellers behind screens as it was back then. They wanted tellers that would come out. So we were really fundamentally changing the way banking was done back then. And so
Mm.
I think he gave me the opportunity and I stepped into it to sort of say, right, here's the people part of it as well. And then realized, oh, hang on, this is how it should be, and took it from forward from there.
Was it then or before then? Because you talked about, perhaps sometimes HR leaders don't understand the business enough, don't invest in
Yep.
understanding the business enough. Was it then or before then, or when did you work out you actually had to get the numbers? I know you said earlier they
Yep.
weren't they're not your
Yeah.
first
I
love.
don't love the numbers, but I know you have to get them.
Yeah.
It probably was from the start. And I don't know if it was a conscious thing or just if you want to, and probably innately, deep down, some of mine is I'm a people pleaser. I like to do a good job.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it probably was that you've got to understand the business, you've got to talk the language, you've got to be able to participate. So that probably pushed me into understanding, yeah, what's going on, not just the people side of the business.
How did you do that?
A lot of self-talk,
Yeah.
just a lot
Yeah.
of just do it, just try, give it a go. And probably I've been very fortunate in my career to have lots of people who have taken an interest in my development, have been upfront with feedback and sort of said to me, Amy, you can't sit in a meeting and say nothing. Like
Yes.
say something. You've got it doesn't matter what it is. Don't worry about if people think it's a stupid thing or not. Most of the time they won't be thinking about what you're saying anyway. So
Yeah.
just but say something, use your voice, have a view. You don't be the loudest person in the room all the time, but have a view. So I think a lot of that was just working in the background.
You've touched on some of the areas in terms of, perhaps not historically people leaning in enough to the business and speaking the language and being commercial and understanding
Yep.
all of that side of the business. If I said to you, what is a strategic HR leader and what's different from the old, are there other things that stand out for you that
Yep.
should be there now to be strategic?
Yeah, absolutely. So you need to, I think, always keep an eye on the future, what's happening, what are the trends that you can see, so that the business can start to think early about, well, what are the different capabilities that perhaps we're going to need? Can we start building them internally so that we're not competing in the market for them? So AI and prompt engineers and data scientists and all of those sorts of things, we could see that coming. So
Yes.
how do you start to build some of that into your different ways of working? So just always, you talk about being curious. That's one of the things we like to talk about at HBF quite a lot, is being curious, like always reading, always I go along to whatever I can to learn what others are doing and bring it back. So I think that is a key piece that strategic HR people need to be doing, is just looking at what's happening in the business, what could impact it, and what can you do? And I mean, AI is a really big piece of that at the moment. Is um, we might not be the people that decide what the actual AI tech is that's being put into a business, but we really need to be helping shape what that impact's going to be on our people and preparing businesses for it. So at HBF, I have joint accountability with our Chief Technology Officer on our AI strategy, because our board is very strong on you got to think about what the people impact is as well.
I love that. I mean, it's genuinely a people change exercise, right?
Absolutely.
What
Yes.
we're going through. And I know so many organisations have seen it as something that sits with the chief technical officer or CIO. How did you get in the conversation? Like, did you initiate getting in, or was it the board, or how did that happen?
A bit of both. So I said all along, this is a people change. It absolutely will
Mm.
be. It will be people. We talk about our AI strategy being people first or human first. So we've always pushed it to be about our people, not technology. But yes, the board were very strong on that as well, so that we've always come up with papers that talk to both, along with the governance, obviously, side of AI as well.
And do you think everyone's accepted that well, or have you had to take the advice you give to your own team about getting into those meetings?
And no, I've had to take my just last week. I saw a paper come to the executive, and I'm like, I don't think there's been any of my team involved in this. So I just very nicely went out and said, "Great paper, guys. Can we have a meeting?"
Yeah.
And sort of said to them, and then once you're in there and you're sitting and you're going, have you thought about this, and this? And they're all like, no. And I'm like, well, that's why you need to bring my team in, because we will help you, because we know what the union will say to this, so we can get ready for it. And yeah, so you can do it without a banging of the desk going, how dare you not include me, because that's not going to help you either. But yeah.
No,
So
they'll
no,
just find a way
I
to work
do have
around
to
you.
walk the talk sometimes and
Yeah,
say to my
exactly.
team, come on, in we go.
So you mentioned to me as well, and I think this was part of the strategic HR, but the relationships that you need to
Mm,
nurture. Tell me
yes.
about that. I mean, one, obviously, you talked about before, if a role doesn't report to the CEO, you're not interested. But what are the broader relationships you need to build?
Yeah, absolutely. So the CEO is a critical,
Yeah.
absolutely critical role, both ways. You've got to have trust in each other, and that it often takes time. I've been through a CEO change here at HBF, and like any relationship, it takes time to build those levels of trust. But as you would well know, being a CEO is very lonely.
Yeah.
I like to think I can be one person that the CEO can come and can talk to and bounce ideas off, and that I can help him be the best leader. So I'm open and honest with him with my feedback on what I'm hearing about his executive team, what I hear about him at
Yes.
times, like we want to see you more on the floor or whatever it
Yes.
is that I'm
Yes.
hearing around. So definitely the CEO is a critical role, and then your peers on the executive team as well, because often, I mean, they'll have their HR business partner, but depending on the strength of that partner, will be do they give them the honest feedback? Sometimes that's my
Yes.
role I need to play is to
Saved for you.
yep, take them for a coffee and go, you know what, that interaction you just had wasn't your greatest,
Yeah.
um, and give that honest feedback to them. The board is a critical role, a critical sorry relationship as well. So I certainly see the role of a chief people officer is you are their conduit to the culture of an organisation. And we all know that boards have to and need to understand what's happening. And yeah, they'll get out and about and they'll talk to people. But I find at HBF, they really rely on me to be the one to say, look,
Yeah.
something's not right, this is going on. So they need to know that they can trust that I will or put my hand up if I think, yeah, there's something that's not happening within the business.
It's such an interesting space just listening to you talk because, there's a real element of bravery, I think, in there, Amy, as far
Yes,
as all of the feedback, and how
absolutely.
you give that
Yeah.
feedback. And I'll just briefly share a story. I've got a panel coming up with a group of CEOs, and we're talking about how CEOs add value, and it
Mm,
changes and shifts obviously over their tenure. But we also talked about, well, who do you get the feedback from? So who do
mm,
you hear from to keep a
yep.
really strong perspective about whether you're on track, off track, or otherwise?
Yeah.
One of the things that was funny was one of the person said, and we all sort of laughed at it, was often the person who gives you that direct feedback, honest, true, genuine feedback, actually you don't really want to spend time with them in the beginning.
Yeah.
But then you work out, actually, they're the
Yes.
one I need to
Need
spend
to.
time with.
Correct. Yeah.
Does that happen to you? Like, do
Yeah,
you?
yes, yes, it does. And it's an interesting well, relationship, not so much maybe with the CEO, but sometimes with your peers, because you have to be that trusted advisor. You have to give them the feedback, but sometimes you're the person that has to make the hard calls
Yes.
as well. So I can see them sometimes, some of them with them like, oh, I want to be close to her, but also I don't want to tell her my deepest, darkest things because she might tell the CEO or like, and it
Yes.
is that you do have to step through that very carefully because stuff is shared in confidence with you, and you've got to know well enough how can how can you help them, but help the organization, and yeah,
Yeah.
step through it.
I've been doing a series recently with academics, and we've been looking at sort of power and status and influence. And when I think of the Chief People Officer role, I often think that, almost more than any other role, the outcomes you are seeking to achieve are through influence.
Yes.
You're
Yep.
not always throwing a title around and using power to get things done.
No.
It's influence. Tell me about that. Tell me how you kind of, well, found that as a strength yourself, worked on
Mm.
it. Just tell me
Yep.
about how you use influence.
How I use influence. And I think you're absolutely right. That is, a good chief people officer is working in the background. And in fact, the chair of our REMCO was saying to me last year that that's one of the things. She's like, Amy, you might think we don't see everything that you do. She's like, but make no mistake, we know you're always there in the background. We can hear in the words that are being used by
Yeah.
others to us that you've been there coaching and influencing in the background.
Mm.
So I think it's just something that I've never gone and studied influencing or anything like that. I've done various programs like the Chief Executive Women's Executive Leadership Program. So you do learn a little bit through things like that. It's probably just my natural
Mm.
style anyway, which is that at the very start I said when you do something that you love, you kind of get very good at it because I'm probably not your person that needs to be front and center. I like being in the background,
Yeah.
helping others to be successful. But I think to get back to your question around influencing, it's just being, and sometimes I talk to my team about, sometimes you just say something and you might not get them to agree this time, and then I'll just walk away and I'll let them sit on it for a bit. And
Mm.
sometimes it'll get played back to me over my career, and it's been their idea. And I'm like, oh, really? Was it your idea? I'm pretty sure I said that 2 weeks ago, but that's okay if we're getting there. Or most of the time now I get the Amy, I know you said that 2 weeks ago. I've been thinking about it. I think it actually is a good idea. So
Yeah.
sometimes you just got to do it gently. You know when to push, you know when to retreat. If it's something I really believe in, I'll stay strong and hold my ground. But you just learn. Um, and I'm a good study of people, so
Mm.
I can see the body language. I can see the I watch all of that to see if my message is getting through.
Yeah, amazing. When you think about, well, actually, before I go there, I want to ask you about culture.
Mm.
Tell
Yes,
tell me about the influence of culture. You and I both know that you can have the best strategy in the world, but without the right culture, you're not executing it. So tell
correct.
me about your influence on culture.
Yes, and I think that is one of the most critical roles a chief people officer can play is in the culture. And I think there's debate over who actually ever said the quote of "culture eats strategy for breakfast." But I
Mm.
do think, no matter who said it, first of all, it is true because if you don't have the right culture, you can forget delivering on your strategy. And we've done a huge piece of work here at HBF around what we're calling our bold culture. So we're trying to get our people to think bold and to be bold and not to fear failure and make mistakes and all, because we realize we've got big growth aspirations. And with probably the culture we had a few years back, we were never going to get there if people didn't start taking big bets, taking a chance, trying new things. So we put that culture in place and we're seeing it gradually shift, and then the business results are starting to come as well. But it's been a lot of thought gone into it. And it's not, I said to the team, we can't just pop up these nice posters on the wall saying be bold. And people are like, yeah, great, you say that. And then I
What does
do.
that mean?
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
get taken out at the knees because I make a mistake. So we've done a lot of work then putting it through our leadership behaviours and our new leadership framework and the way we training our leaders to sort of encourage. that boldness to come through. We got people to set bold goals for the year. So your performance and your incentive won't be linked to it, but we want to know what's your really bold, if you have no boundaries, what's your real bold goal, and
Yeah.
sharing them and telling stories
Yeah.
through that as well.
Fantastic. So when you think, and this is not that far away now, when you think of 2040,
Yes.
like 14 years away, that's all it is. So
Oh,
what capability do you think will clearly separate effective executives from everyone else?
I think it's going to be that, because I think leadership is just becoming more and more complex now than ever before. So it's going to be those that can navigate that complexity. We talk a lot about being able to hold paradox. Two things can be true.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people that's like, no, but I'm like, it is. And somewhere in the middle will be, and you've got to be able to pull that out and get to that curiosity. I think we've talked a
Mm.
lot about that. I really do think those people that ask the questions, that don't have to be the smartest person in the room, that are happy just to keep an open mind, the capability to lead a team of humans and agents. How do
Yeah.
they all interact? How do you get the best out of both? Will be something that, yeah, we're going to have to get our head around.
So what are you, and even though it does feel a long way away, what are you doing now to either find those people or help your leaders build that capability?
So we've built it. We've just launched a new. My team have developed a new leadership framework, which has got a lot of those things, and we're saying that's what we're looking for in our leaders. We're looking at what we call our emerging leaders for those sorts of mindsets and behaviours, and trying to fast track and, yeah, develop them through the ranks, and then just encouraging those at the top to think differently and yeah to be bold.
What do you think gets mistaken for leadership potential?
Often I find someone that's just good at their job.
Mm.
So we have here in the past, we have a call centre, and those that are really good with our members and good on the phone, here, great, you should be a team leader. Here's 15 people, go lead. We didn't put any scaffolding around them, and we
Yes.
wonder why they're not successful, where people leave because just because you're good at your technical job, and then having the hard conversations sometimes with people who are technically very good and they want to keep progressing, and they think to be a leader is the way to do it. And it's not, because they're
Yeah.
just not cut out for it. So
Yeah.
having those hard conversations, helping them still feel like they're progressing and they can move up, but just not being, yeah, being a leader, because just because you're technically good at something doesn't make you a good people leader.
Yeah. So you touched on this a little bit before, but when you encounter resistance to something, you're always leading change. When you encounter that resistance to change, what are the signals you look for? Like, well, what are the instincts that kind of tell you that it's something to work through or work around? And any
Yeah,
lessons
yeah.
and yeah, any lessons from waiting too long or pushing too
Yeah,
hard?
loads of lessons of I tell my team I make mistakes every single day of waiting too long. Sometimes even if and I talk about, it's often easier to talk to others about coaching them through changes in their teams and all of that sort of stuff, and then you get to it yourself and you're like, "Mm." So
Yeah.
definitely waited too long and doing some of those sorts of people changes
Yes.
before, and it's hard. And I do, when someone's resisting change, I do try to sit back and think about it from their side. Like, do they actually have a point? Is what we're doing wrong, or could be wrong, or do they know something we don't know? Because sometimes we can think it's a great idea, and then they're going, yeah, have you thought about that? So digging in a little to understand, do they actually have a point, or is it just a bit of change resistance? Yeah, and then work it out from there. But yeah, and sometimes it doesn't go your way, you don't get the change in you want, and you just have to
Be
life.
patient. Be
Be
patient and
patient.
try again, or
Wouldn't be the first time that we've shelved something and then 12 months later bring it out, and it is the right time
yeah.
to do it. So it's all a bit of just instinct and understanding, and just listening to what's going on in the, yeah, in an organisation, which gets harder as you get more senior because people don't tell you as much.
Yeah.
So I rely on my team to tell me what's
Yeah.
going on because I'm not naive to think that a lot doesn't hit my radar because it's kept.
Absolutely. One of the biggest challenges for CEOs as well.
Yes,
So,
correct. Yeah.
so I'd love to ask you, we don't traditionally see a lot of HR leaders moving into CEO
Mm.
roles.
Yes.
Do you think we will see more of it?
I would like to think so. And I think there are,
Yes.
you do see it happen sometimes. And I think that's credit to those boards that are probably looking at the understanding of people and talent and thinking that's what you need in a CEO. When your question before about 2040, I think that is what you're going to be looking for more in your CEOs because you can get someone that's a really good CFO to bolster you around the numbers if that's where you're not as strong, or a good, if you're in financial services, chief risk officers and those more technical roles
Yes.
around you. So I hope that yes, it will it will become one of those roles that traditionally, I guess, the CFO has been that role where it's a training ground.
Yeah.
So hopefully there's some trailblazers that, yeah, lead the way.
Big responsible roles, and a couple of boys at home to keep you grounded. What else do you do to stay grounded? I did note
But
that you do strength training.
I do, yes.
Snap, me too.
So I try to train 4 days a week. That was something I'm relatively new to, but I was reaching a certain milestone birthday where strength becomes more important. So I do that. I love to read, so I do read, and I think as I touched on at the start, I do love my fashion. So it's my creative outlet.
Amazing. How do you stay across? I should have asked you this earlier, but just
Yep.
there is so much information to digest. And you talked about future trends and things like that. What do you look at? What are the sources? How do you keep yourself kind of relevant, if you like, and
Yes.
future proof?
I a lot of podcasts. So if I'm not at the gym, I'm out walking the dog or something like that. So I listen to podcasts. I've got some people in my team who are particularly my GM of talent and development who loves podcasts. We're always like, have you listened to this one? No, have you listened to this one? So sharing that. LinkedIn, I see interesting articles. I go to different lunches and forums, and yeah, so just try different ways. The other one of my rituals as well, and it's probably because of my corporate affairs side of every morning, I just scan the media
Headlines.
headlines. I can't read all the papers, but yeah, scan the headlines to just try and yeah keep up with what's going on. And networking, I'm not too shy to reach out to someone I don't know and go, I'm going to be in Sydney. Would you have coffee with me?
Amazing.
Yeah.
That's fabulous. What's the next? What is there another skill you're looking to add?
For me, definitely. I mean, it's a broad term, AI, but
Yeah.
I'm definitely trying to immerse myself in understanding how to use it more effectively for myself, but
Yeah.
also just to understand what's coming so I can help HBF prepare for it.
Fantastic. So, Amy, the final question I ask everybody is,
Yes.
what does brave feminine leadership mean to you, and do you think it needs to change?
For me, when I think about those female leaders that I admire, and I think they're brave. So I just think they are leaders who know who they are, and they don't try to be anything different. So they don't try to be more masculine and they just play to their strengths. And for me, I think that's what female leaders bring. And I'm making a very big generalization here. We tend to be more empathetic, to understand, to probably be more curious and things like that. So playing to those strengths and
Mm.
not trying to be the loudest voice in the room or the take up all the space. Yeah. So for me, that's what it is. Just be who you are. Our chair of our board always said, Diane Smith Gander always says, be who you are, because everyone else is already taken. So I think that's
I've
a really
interviewed
good one.
Di. Yeah, I've
Yes,
interviewed Di,
yeah,
and I think she said that when she was with me as well. So,
quite possibly. Yes,
yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
Amy, thank you so much for joining me in this conversation. You know, it's exciting to spend time with chief people officers, and your role's so much broader again than that, but to spend
Yeah.
time with people who are really strategically thinking about the future, who are involved in, I love that you share that accountability on AI, on the
Mm.
transformation and change process for your organization. So it's been wonderful to have you in the conversation. Thank you for
Thank you.
joining me.
I've enjoyed it. Thank you, Melissa.